Republican Senator Chuck Hagel has been a staunch critic of the war in Iraq since 2003. In his brand new book, America, Our Next Chapter, the Nebraska senator goes beyond his usual critiques and offers solutions to repair America's image abroad. Joining us now, Senator Chuck Hagel. Senator, how are you?
Sean, thank you.
You know, we're coming at this. I'm critical of Senator McCain. He's not conservative enough. You may not support him because he's too conservative, especially on the war, right?
Well, I don't know if you define your position on the war based on your conservative credentials. I mean, there's some pretty significant conservatives out there. The late William F. Buckley was a pretty signient critic of our involvement.
Later in the as related to the war.
Buchanan, George Will, others. So I don't think you can, at least I don't see it that way. I have always defined my position on the war based on what I think our interests are.
Well, no one's questioning his sincerity, and we're not going to do that here. Senator, I am mad at the Republican Party. As a matter of fact, I'm re-registering in New York as a conservative. I consider myself a Reagan conservative. I predicted year out that they would lose power in 2006. Because I think they've abandoned their principles on spending. They haven't given a solution to our energy independence. They haven't controlled our nation's borders. They're not the earmarks. They got worse than the Democrats. If Republicans continue down this path, they deserve to lose, don't they?
Well, sure, because the power is in the hands of the party that controls the Congress and the White House. And here in a Republican Congress for most of the last 7 years, and certainly administration, we have run up 1/3 of the nation's national debt. No child left behind. We've added hundreds of billions of dollars to Medicare spending.
Prescription drugs. You were against that?
I was against it. I voted against it. I voted against No Child Left Behind. I voted against the real big government type programs.
The Republicans with earmarks. I think the biggest disagreement we have is going to be on the war on terror. And as I was reading your book, it was making me mad. Because you talked about the president and weapons of mass destruction. You had one paragraph in particular. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, Hillary made that argument. Ted Kennedy made that argument. John Kerry, Bill Clinton in '98. And we have evidence that he used weapons of mass destruction with dead children, the Kurds in the north. Why shouldn't we have figured that he still was pursuing those programs in light of how he treated the inspectors?
Sean, if you read both of my chapters on Iraq in my book, I go into some considerable detail. Number one. We should have allowed the International Atomic Energy Agency inspectors to finish their job, which I was told by the president he was going to do that, and by other senior officials. And many of our members of Congress were told that we didn't do that. They were the only ones in there. They were the only ones that really knew it. I was told, as I mentioned in my book, by former Prime Minister of Lebanon, the late Hariri, that he had no weapons of mass destruction. All of our Arab allies told us, including President Mubarak of Egypt.
But
Senator, when the president said he would let the IAEA finish and didn't, would he lie to you?
Well, lie is a tough word, and I have always tried to be responsible with my language, and I have never accused the president of lying. I will say this, that his administration certainly misrepresented, starting with the fact when we were told, many of us, including me, that this administration had not made a decision to go to war. At the time of the resolution vote in October of 2002, in fact, now we know that that's just not true.
You don't want to use the word lie. That is a strong word, but that's what you're implying.
You can take any meaning out of that you want, but I think almost 6 years now after this, we have a pretty clear record of what they said and what they didn't say.
You also say in the book that Dick Cheney cherry-picked intelligence and used fear to promote war sloganeering. That's a pretty strong charge against you.
Well, he did, and if you recall the war speech that he gave to the National VFW Convention in August of 2002, the day after that speech, I called Colin Powell, and I said to Colin Powell, what's going on? You're going to war. And Powell said, no, the president has made no decisions. And I said, that war speech that Cheney gave is very, very clear. Cheney was doing that all the lead up to the invasion.
So they knew you felt they were going to do it anyway, and they were not leveling with people like you.
I don't think that they were direct and honest at all with what they were telling us versus the planning that was going on.
We're going to talk in just a moment about these Congress people who went to take a trip to Iraq. And it turns out that some of the money through an organization, a nonprofit group, was funded via Saddam Hussein.
Yes.
Can you fault those Congress people as if, you know, they had no idea where the money was coming from? Does Jim McDermott, does he get faulted for that? Thompson, does he get faulted for that?
I don't know the specifics of the trip, but I would tell you this, and I can only speak for myself. I can't speak for any other member. Before I take a trip, I always find out who's paying or who's involved. I don't know if they did that. They were lied to, again, until the facts are in. I don't want to say anything more than that. But it is the responsibility of a member of Congress to find out who is funding a trip, especially if you're going to Iraq.
Senator, thanks so much. Best of luck with the book. Thanks very much for being here tonight.